Hello guys, welcome to another video. In this video, we would be seeing about Docker, a basic description about Docker and a container, how it works, what it is, just a basic stuff. And then we'll try to build and run a Docker container for dbt, and the dbt will be hosted inside this container in my local system only. And then we'll try to do dbt run in that container and we'll see the output. Okay, we'll see each and everything step by step from scratch. Okay, will not miss out any pointer. So let's dive into it. So what is Docker? Like if you see, Docker is a tool that helps to build, share and run application. So using Docker, you create an environment. The environment is nothing but a container inside which you keep all your dependency libraries, you keep your code, and you run everything whatever is needed while developing it. You create a container. And how do you create a container? Using Docker image. The container in Docker is created using the image. What exactly is the image? We'll see. Okay, but what we do with Docker is like we kind of create a container or an environment. I meant container. I meant environment is nothing but a container. So when you have that environment and a code, everything inside, when you execute it, everything will be executed. You don't need a separate virtual machine and install everything run. I can just create a container and execute the code by installing the dependency libraries and take that exact image or a container. See, what ideally we take is we take that exact image and give it to other person, or take that exact image whatever we have developed in my local and push it to the next environment, and there also it execute. So literally we are just maintaining exactly same across the different systems or different environments. Whatever we are building in the div, we are taking the same image and going into the production. So here the underneath dependency libraries, the versions and everything is being maintained constantly across. So when you change the environment, as you are using the image which is built in dev, and that image is what creates the container. Using image we create a container in the Docker. As it is passed across the environment, there won't be any mismatches in any libraries installed or mismatches in the code across the environment. So the code runs constant and behaves the same way. Our application behaves the same way across the environment. That's the purpose of the Docker on high level. So what is Docker? It's a tool that helps you to build, share and run applications easily, no matter where you are working, in your laptop, cloud or data center. We just need that image. Using that image we create a container, and that the same image is used across the next environment. So why to use Docker? Like you don't have to install everything in a virtual machine or EC2 instance because it takes a lot of space and all. But Docker is very lightweight. So instead one VM or one EC2 instance, you can have multiple containers. It's just lightweight. So Docker puts your app and everything it needs, the code, libraries, configurations, into a container. So whether it runs on your laptop or equivalent computers or in the next environment, it behaves the same way. So Docker containers are much lighter weight than VMs. They start quickly, use less memory, and you can run many containers on the same machine. So this makes sharing, which is very much needed, and testing and deploying your apps fast and easy because it is consistent across the images. How is it consistent? Because of the Docker image. What is the use of Docker image? The Docker image is used to create the containers, and inside containers we have the dependency libraries, the configurations, the code and everything we run. It's just kind of a place where we have everything. So to discuss it in the layman terms, it's kind of a bowl where we have everything inside. So now what is Docker image? Image is a template to create a container. So using Docker image only, we create a container. So I have a simple Docker file. The image is built with the Docker file and container is built with the image. So first the Docker file will have, inside which we have all the code, and using that we create the image, and once the image is created, we create the container. We'll see everything. So once I cat this Docker file, what am I doing? If you see the steps, I'm just saying use the Python environment here and install a specific package named dbt-athena, and this is your working directory, and dbt is the entry point. So entry point is nothing but a common command which we use inside that container. Let's say in the dbt world, we use dbt run, dbt debug, dbt compile. So dbt is common. So the entry point here I have kept as dbt. So we don't have to mention the dbt keyword. You just mention the run debug, compile whenever you run the dbt command. That's why we have kept the dbt. It's just kind of a common command. We can override it while running the container as well. In case if you don't want dbt as a first word, you can overwrite it, so that gets replaced while running the. I'll show you that. So what are we doing in this Docker file? We are just giving a steps on how our container should behave. So using this Docker file, we first build a image, and using that image, we build the container. And inside that container, we will have the environment set, because this is what the environment. I need a Python environment, and I need to have this particular package dbt-athena installed, and this is my working directory. So we are setting up the environment here, and we can even copy the code, or we can mount it. So my local path to the container path will be mounted. I'll show you on how to mount. We have to use -b. So I guess you understand what exactly is a Docker file. It's just a kind of steps to create an environment. So using this Docker file, we create the image. So let's see how do we create the image. So let's see what are images first. Docker images. So I have these images. Let me create another image with this Docker file with the name yt. So to create an image with the Docker file, docker build -t yt-dbt-athena. So my image name is yt-dbt-athena. I'm building using this Docker file. So I'm not mentioning any Docker file because it is there in my current directory. So if I just erase this, and if I do ls, see, I have this Docker file, right? That is what I have done. So now I'm building an image with the yt-dbt-athena. If you see, I don't have that image right now in my local. Okay, I'm just building that image. Why did I get the error? Because I did not mention where is the Docker file. It's in my current directory. To mention that, I have to do dot. So it takes from my current directory. See, now we are able to build the image. So this is how we build the image. So now if I do Docker images, I'll have my new image created. Yes, I created my image. So using this Docker file where I have all the steps, I'm creating an image. Using that image, we create the container. So let's not create the container right now. Let's create and run the container with at a time. So let's create the container and run it at a time. Meanwhile, we'll just create a simple dbt project in my local. Okay, I'll just clear it. So inside my ls, I don't have anything. So I'll just create a virtual environment. So now whatever I'm doing is not related to Docker. It's just that I'm creating a dbt project in my local. So I have to first create a virtual environment. To create virtual environment, we will do python -m .venv. Virtual environment name is .venv. And then I have to activate it. So as I created virtual environment, let me activate it. So how do we activate? Source .venv bin activate. That's it. The virtual environment gets activated now. So once the virtual environment is activated, we have to install the dbt-athena package. That's how we install it. dbt has dbt-athena, dbt-snowflake, dbt-bigquery, dbt-postgres and all. So I want to install dbt-athena package. So pip install dbt-athena. That's it. So dbt-athena get installed in my local. Not in my local, in my virtual environment. So now dbt-athena got installed in my virtual environment. So now I have to create a project. How do we create dbt project? We have a command called dbt-init. Using this, we have to create a dbt project. It's universal. It's not related to Docker specific. Even if you want to install dbt, or if you want to create a dbt project with the dbt core outside, you have to do the same dbt-init. To have dbt-init working, you first have to install the specific package, dbt-athena or dbt-postgres or whatever you want. I have installed dbt-postgres. So now it is asking the project name. So I will give yt-cpr-proj. That's it. That's it. Okay, it doesn't take the hyphen. We have to use yt-cpr-proj. That's it. I got the project. So right now I have only Athena installed because in my virtual environment I just did dbt-athena. So I have to just select one number. That's it. It is asking for staging directory. We go to my S3 and bring the staging directory. So I'm just using this particular path as my staging directory. That's it. Data directory is also same. That's it. What is the region? My AWS is in Northern Virginia, which is US East 1. That's it. East 1. That's it. What is the schema name? schema. I just gave the schema name for my Athena. What is the database name? Database name should be AWS data catalog. So now if I come here, if I go to editor, this is what we have to give, AWS data catalog. That's it. Number of threads 1. So it creates a dbt project. So when I do ls now, I have my project created. So if I go to this project, if I do ls, see, I have models, everything. So we are done with your dbt project. Now we have to mount this dbt project with the container and run the container. But before that, you have to do few things in the AWS environment. First, we have to go to AWS and we have to go to IAM. And we have to create a user. Right now I already have the user. If you want, you can create a new user. Just give the username and then just do next and create. You can just create a user. So I just created the user already. So I just click on CPR. And now if you come here, if you go to secret credentials, you have to create an access key here. By default, you will not have it. So you have to just click on create access key. Because when you want to access AWS environment using command line, you need to have a user, and the user ID should have the permissions to all the services he has to access from the terminal or a command line. So here I have to click this, and I understand about recommendations, and then I have to click on next, and you will get the access key. So when you click this, you will get the access key and all, right? So that's it. You have to use this access key and a secret access key and keep it in your local. That's when your local system can access your AWS account. So that's how I created this, and I got my access key. I'll show you on how, where to keep. Now along with that, you should, for that specific user, you have to come to permission and click on add permission, and you have to give access to Athena, because the user has to access the Athena, right? Because when you run the dbt command from my local using containers, as you are using the specific credentials of that specific user, it should have the permission. That's why you have to give the permissions here as well. So create user, create access key, save that access key, and come to permissions and give him the required permissions. That's it. So now once you get that access key and all, you have to keep it in your system, so that your system can access the AWS account. Where should I keep? So you have to go to this particular path. I mean my current user .aws. How do you get this .aws created? When you install AWS CLI. To access the AWS CLI in your local, you have to use pip install AWS CLI. It already there for me. So it got updated to the newer version. I had the old version, it got updated. So when you install AWS CLI, you will have that particular folder gets created. So now when you do ls, or when you do cat to this credentials, see, I got this access key ID and access secret. So you have to keep here. So you don't copy paste this. You have to do AWS configure. When you do AWS configure, it will ask you, see, that access key ID which you have created for that specific user, you have to enter, and again secret key which you have created, you have to enter. That's it. And the region, this all I have already given. So I'm just clicking on enter. So this is how you set up the AWS in your local, and you will be able to access the AWS from your local. So now we have the setup ready to access AWS from our local, right? So we have the project, dbt project as well. That is also fine. So now we have to run everything in the container. To run everything in the container, we are using this particular command. We already have a Docker file. Using Docker file, we have created image. Using image, we have to create the container. So here, if you see, what is the image I have created? Docker images. So this is the image which I have created, yt-dbt-athena. So we got the image name, right? So we have to use that image and create the container. How are we creating the container? Using this particular command, docker run. This creates the container, as well as we are executing the dbt run command as well. When you execute the dbt run command, your models gets executed and creates the tables in Athena. So we are doing both, creating a container and executing that inside the container too. So dbt run -it, what is the name of the container? This is the name of the container. My image name and the container name both I have given same. So the image name should come here, this one. And this is the container name. Okay, hyphen name is the container name. This is the image name. Here I have to use latest, because while I was trying before, I have used 1.9 because I gave the tag as 1.9 that time. But while creating the image, I did not give any tag. So I have to -t, I did not mention anything. So I have to use latest here. That's it. And I'll replace this with this and latest. That's it. Now if you see here also, I'll name the container name as yt-dbt-athena, which is fine. That's it. Now we'll see these particular comments. What exactly is this? So entry point is nothing but a common command which we give, right? So every time we use dbt. So as I am again using dbt, I'm just replacing the entry point with sh. But if I remove this and if I remove this, I just gave the run. That means it uses a dbt from the entry point which we have given in the Docker file and a run here. So you can even avoid giving entry point here. When should you use the entry point here? Only when you want to not use the entry point command which we have given already in the Docker file. That's when we have to give the entry point again here. Okay, now these are the things which you need to give. So what are we doing here? We are just mounting whatever we have. -v is nothing but mounting. What are we mounting here? First we are saying use the current directory, mount it to this particular path in the container. What exactly is the mounting? For those who are not aware of mounting, mounting is nothing but keeping sync between the two directories. So if you are aware of Databricks, previously before we got Unity Catalog volumes, we were doing dbfs mounting with the containers or a S3. What are we doing? So whatever the file comes in the S3 or in Azure containers, the same can be viewed in the dbfs path in Databricks, right? So we are just mounting that path with this path. That doesn't mean we are copying that. We are not copying. We are just mounting. That means whatever is there will come here. Whatever is here will go there. It's not a copy, just kind of combining or syncing, we can say. So what we are saying is take this current directory and mount it with this path inside the container. So why do we need to do this? Because in my current directory, I have my dbt project. So use this particular that project. You can just mount it with this particular path in the container. Now what are we doing here? So in dbt, we have profiles.yaml. That is how we are able to access the AWS using the profiles.yaml. In case if you are not aware of profiles.yaml, I recommend you to just go through it, or else I'll just show you what exactly is a profiles.yaml. When you create a project, dbt init, profiles.yaml gets created. So profiles.yaml is there, right? So when I do cat, this should not be dot, this should be slash. That's it. See, if you see here, CPR Athena project, this is what we have created. These are the details we have given while creating the dbt project in my local using dbt init command. So these are my previous projects which I have created in my local for testing, for Postgres and for Athena and all. So using these particular parameters only, my dbt is connecting to Athena. So that's why we are mounting that specific path as well. This is the first thing. We are saying mount this particular path with this particular path inside the container. So inside the container also we'll have the root, right, inside which you created .dbt, and whatever is there here, just sync it inside this. And again, for dbt to access AWS, it needs the credentials, right? So that's why we have created a user and we got the access ID and access credentials, right? Again, mount this path with this path inside the container is what we are saying. So from container, my dbt is accessing my AWS account. How is it accessing? Using my using my profiles.yaml and the AWS access keys, which we have set. So that's why we are just mounting these two. And this -w is nothing but a working directory. Okay, so now when I execute this, we are creating a container using the image and executing the commands as well. How are we executing the commands? Using this dbt run. That's it. So let's execute this. So I just gave the capital Y here. It should be small. See, if you see my dbt is running, this is how the dbt runs the models, right? So it created one thread, it has two models, and if you see it is running this particular model, and if I go to yt schema, once it is executed, I should be able to see these particular models or tables inside my Athena. See, my first model got created, my first dbt model. See, it's completely successful. So this is how we run our dbt inside the container in our local system. In the next video, I will show you by running the same dbt inside the container, but by using the AWS service called AWS ECS. So let's see how we can do that. So now before that, let's go ahead and see the tables. So if I come here, my schema name is yt schema. I'll just refresh this. If I see yt schema got created, inside which my tables got created. That's it. This is what I will have in the model. So this is how we can create a dbt project in our local and then create a container. How do you create a container? Using image. How do you create an image? Using DockerFile. What you will have in the DockerFile? All the instructions to create that environment. And our code, how are we giving it? Because we are in the directory. So while running this particular command, if you see this current directory is mounted with this. In the current directory only, we have our dbt code. So when I exit and when I do ls, see, this is my dbt project, right? So all these will be mounted inside this path and executed there. So now let's see a few of the other important things in Docker. So now if you come here, let's see a high level what exactly is a Docker architecture. So in Docker, we'll have a Docker daemon, which acts like an engine. So when you give wrong comments or something like that, you will get an saying like Docker daemon is already running. So now if you run this particular command again, whatever I have run, what are we saying? If you see error response from daemon config, the container name is already in use. So we'll have a Docker daemon in Docker, which is used to build and run the containers. As it's already running, it is not able to create with the same name again. So the next thing is Docker client, the command line tool which we use here, the terminal I am using, right? So this terminal is talking with the Docker daemon. So that's called a Docker client. So what exactly is a Docker compose? When you have multiple containers, and if you want both the containers to use, like in the web application scenarios, where you have one container for database, one container for front end, one container for node. So all these containers should together work. So that time we'll create a Docker compose file. It's just another YAML file. Okay, to make all these containers interact with each other, we'll just have steps in the docker compose.yaml. So when we have the multiple container scenario, we go with Docker compose. Now Docker desktop. What exactly Docker desktop? It's just an UI inside which we can see what are all the containers which are running. If you see here, this is a container which we just created. This is what I have created before. So where you can even watch the logs. We can see the list of images what we have. These are the two images which we have created and everything. It's just a desktop. Hey, here are again some set of commands which we use inside the Docker file. So now if you look at the Docker file, if you see, we are using from to create a base. We are using run to install some kind of commands. We are using working directory to say which directory it has to use by default. ENTRYPOINT, which we already discussed. So these are the few sample things which we can use. So to create a base image, because everything has to be on Python, so to create a base image we have to use from command. And in case if you want to add some metadata, you have to use label command. In case if you want to set some environmental variables and which you want to pass it dynamically from outside, you can use env. And to run some commands, like to install some package and all, you have to use run. In case if you want to copy some commands, if you see here the inside requirements.txt, in my local machine I can keep all the libraries I need, and that requirements.txt I can copy it inside the container using this particular copy command. And the working directory, and the in case if you want to run some command before executing, every time while creating container, in case if you want to run some commands, you can use it. If you see command python main.py, so if you see volume, like we have seen it -v, right? So in case instead of mounting in the docker run while creating the container, you can even mount it inside as well. So if you want to set a user, you can set the user. So these are all the few things which it's better to be aware of. Like using these kind of commands only, we create the Docker file. So these are the few things which you need to be aware of Docker, and this is how we can run our DBT code inside the Docker. That's it. Thank you so much for watching.